Welcome to the Author Next Door,
where we talk writing, publishing, and the business behind the books.
This podcast is for writers who are a few steps ahead into the journey. Maybe you've published, maybe you're planning what's next, and you realize the questions aren't getting easier. They're just getting more interesting.
Sometimes it's just our fabulous selves. Sometimes we bring friends to the table, but it's always lived experience and information you can use.
So pull up a chair. The conversation starts now. Welcome to episode 70. I'm Cassie Newell, and I'm here with my co-host, Angela Haas. And this month, we're exploring better ways to run our author business all month long. This episode, we're talking to Nicole Fronek. Nicole is the co-founder and CEO of business development, known as The Coach. Nicole brings 2 decades of project management expertise supporting Fortune 100 organizations, namely CBRE, Chevron, HP, Citigroup, and Marriott International. She also offers 5 years of interior design experience, inclusive of commercial conversion portfolios for Beverly Hills-based developers. Nicole holds a BA in communications from California State University, Fullerton, and an MSc in project management from the University of Liverpool. She is a founding member of Sheconomy and the author of Corporate Coach Approach, a systematic guide to career development. Welcome, Nicole. Welcome to the podcast. It's
Thank
nice
you
to
so
have
much.
you.
Yeah, it's wonderful to be here. Thank you so much for having me. And man, I'm exhausted just hearing that bio. What a
How did you?
collection, right?
Wow.
It is quite the
Yeah.
collection.
I run on coffee. I tell you that.
So we like to jump right in. So
Perfect.
our podcast, it's all about authors, right? So for authors who are used to thinking of themselves as creative first, what does it actually look like to step into the role of CEO of your author business? Because you're an author as well. So what does that
Yeah.
look like?
And it's a really interesting dynamic because I have a design background, as you shared, and then now
Right.
it's more of a corporate. So I really juggled between those 2 hats. And that's what really was very interesting to me because I have that perspective and understand you have to have both elements. You want to be creative and innovative and everything is an opportunity and everything is possible. But then you have a budget, you have a schedule, the reality hits in. And where do you find the balance? So I always offer the mindset of being excited and enthusiastic because that's going to carry you through the demands of the reality of what that's going to actually
Right.
look like. So having that multifaceted approach and idea and being really thoughtful that you are running a business and the goal is to be financially independent and stable, but also not stifling your creative passion because then you're going to just run out of steam. So it's really a mindset
Yeah.
and being cautious about your limitations and your particular moment. Do I feel creative today? Let's work on that side of the house. Am I feeling more administrative? Am I more focused? Is it a quieter moment in my life where I don't have a lot of chaos? Maybe I really get down to the financial component and the timelines and how my calendar looks. So just dividing
Right.
that time and dividing your mindset and then allowing you to work freely at that moment in that space.
Oh, I love that so much. It's interesting because Angela and I, we talked about goals early on in the podcast this year. And I know
Yeah.
that my creative piece is earlier in the year and my production piece is at the end of the year. I allow creative things to pop up, but I've really learned myself. And I think that's part of it because sometimes you don't know yourself until you start thinking about, well, when do I do these things? When does it come? Do I have seasons? Am I a seasonal person creatively or is it all the time? Like, I think you have to know yourself a little bit in order to make those things work for you.
Absolutely. And you have to be observant of your client if you're working with a client or a partner and
Yeah.
understanding what point they are and how do they work best. Because if it's a collaborative effort, you have to keep those stakeholders in mind as well. So yeah, you're right on point. You have to know what's your season, what's your best time, what is required. And then also I would say there's a lot of blending between the two. I've solved a lot of complex issues with clients and customers because I come from a creative mindset. To do a workshop, I did one last year for a Rotary Club club locally, and we did a kintsugi. It's a Japanese art, and we used actually painting to help solution the
Oh,
creative mindset of problem solving. So you don't
I
necessarily
love
have to
that.
read a PowerPoint and a deck and exhaust people with words, but really maybe put them in a different mindset to approach a complex business problem. So if you can merge and blend and go back and forth and using creative for budgeting, like sometimes, ooh, I have to figure out how to get that extra $5, hypothetically.
Right.
So you have to use creative ways in which to do so.
I think for me, sometimes I don't nurture my creative side like I should. I don't prioritize it sometimes, especially now where I'm a small business owner with my husband. And so when you're at the top and all the pressure is on your shoulders, sometimes I let that take over too much because I just grew up ingrained that my mother taught me a lot of great things. And this isn't a criticism, it's just we learned that you can't relax until all your chores are done, until everything is set work wise. Playtime is secondary. And I just grew up knowing, but there was a certain part of me that's like, keep going, getting your chores all done and all set. When is those my chores as an adult truly set? There's always more
Or
chores.
done. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Right.
was gonna say.
There's always something work that obviously I'm good at prioritizing. These are urgent tasks, but then I almost like can't allow myself for my creative playtime, which I have to consider it now because I'm working so much more than I was. I wish I could nurture the playtime more for me and really say, you know what, these tasks can wait. For this hour tonight, I'm going to play and be creative and write and do my author business. So, how do you help people like that?
Can I use your situation as an example?
Absolutely.
You get a free executive coaching with a coach.
Yay.
I will say I will permit you to have your chore, one of your chores, be a creative session. So whether it's
Yeah.
a whiteboarding or a brainstorming or just drawing something physical that you are utilizing a pen or a crayon or a marker or something that's not
Gotcha.
a digital tool. Because I think we are so ingrained with everything has to be expedited and fast tracked and streamlined because I don't have enough time. I'd love to take notes because it feels nice to write, but I don't have time to translate later. No one has time. We have to make time. We have to create time and allocate it. So if it's treated as if you need to call it a chore to not feel guilty, I say make it a chore, put it on your board, calendar your time, and just have it be a three birds in a bush or whatever you want to call it. Make it so it counts for extra and then really get that opportunity to allow yourself that time that you've dedicated because it is part of your daily calendar. So maybe give it a shot. Not every day if that's too much, but maybe just start once a week. You get an hour where you have a creative session around a solution or a problem or something that if you're writing another book, maybe the cover art. And while you might not arrive at the cover art, the end result, maybe you scratch something on paper today that you look at for a few months and then something comes to you when you're out for a walk or having an amazing meal. So I challenge you to make it one of your tasks, one of your requirements, and then hold yourself accountable. Maybe at the end of a quarter, see, did I do it 3 times this month? How did it feel? What was the end result? Did I get enough value? Did I get so much value more than I thought? Maybe I do it twice a week and take it from there.
Yeah. Okay. That sounds really tangible because,
Yes, it's possible. It's not too
yeah.
much. A little bit, right? We're making small corrections, right? Continuous
Hmm.
improvement. There's tons of books on continuous improvement and just applying that mindset where I need to do so and I want to. So how can I make that work?
I love that. When you talk about value, it's really interesting to me because I think a lot of times authors, when they really get into the business side, they think about return on investment and, kind of the revenue side of things. And I'm curious if you were to walk into an author business as a consultant, like what's the first type of things you kind of audit to assess where they are
That's a
from a
great
business?
question because it is not a quick win. It is
Yeah.
you're going to be in the red for quite a while. So I would ask them to make a reality of their budget. How long can they sustain their financial commitments? Who is dependent upon them? Is there enough in the savings in the reserve?
Yeah.
Because if there's not, your creative is just going to be burnt right out because you're then constantly going to be so obsessed with the sales where people feel that level
Yes.
of anxiety from you. And then they're not enjoying the message because they're so worried, oh no, I don't want to talk to that author at that stand because they're going to try to sell me 80 books. I can just sense the tension. So it
Oh,
really has
yeah.
to be how much time do you have? Because that is value. Your time is money, as they say, and it really is.
Yeah.
How much time do you truly have? Because in my experience, writing the book was easy. It's the publishing, it's the marketing, it's the
Yes.
promotion. That is very time intensive. And how much financially can you put to the side and allocate towards that project? And maybe you have an angel investor, maybe you have another partner, maybe you have some different crowdfunding or some publishing house that's going to support you. There's so many different avenues to explore now. It's not the way it used to be where there's one path to publishing and that's it. There's a
Right.
lot of ways to go now, but it's still a financial and time strain. So when I'm working, so back to your question, don't mean to go all in a circle, but full circle, when you're speaking with a group that is highly creative and innovative and everything's possible and everything's a dream, really
Right.
ask how much time and money can you dedicate? And what is your pain point? How long can you continue to do so? Because if not, maybe a book isn't the right way. Maybe you do a column or articles or blogs or podcasts where you're speaking, but there's a quick end. You're having the session, you're doing the editing, you're doing the recording, and it's live. Versus some people, it takes 5 to 10 years to be published. So, how much energy can you really expend? And is it a full time endeavor? Is it something you want to do full time or is it on the side? Because then maybe you do have an additional revenue stream or two, and you can pop in and out once a month and do a bit of writing. And it can be a year over year project. So, take stock of your time, your calendar, those that you're committed to, and then also your budget and how much can you truly afford.
I love this so much. You're saying all the
We're
key
just
things.
hanging on your
I
every
know.
word.
This is fabulous because I think there's a lot of pressure when
Mhm.
we define success as an author
Yeah.
that is revenue tied. And it's such an extremely competitive space in many of the genres our audience is in
Yeah.
that it's tough. And I think there's this aspect of, well, is it 1 year, 2 year, 3 year? And to have those honest conversations with yourself as to what that looks like, I think is the hardest hurdle to really do for yourself, and I think those words are gold, so thank you for that, Nicole.
No,
I
you're
think that's
welcome, and
really
I'm glad it
eye-opening.
resonated because of my background with project management. That is the first thing you wanna do with clients and treat yourself like a client as well. You have to set those expectations, get out all the awkward conversations at the beginning, all of the difficult points, the money, the time, the finance, the challenges, the chemistry, the resources, all of those conversations, because then you can go forward, and we've already had those, and we can put plans in place. You can do risk assessment, risk analysis, stakeholder matrix. There's so many tools and techniques, and you can look up 1,000 things and become overwhelmed very quickly. So I'm not suggesting that, but have those honest conversations where you really understand what is your objective? What are those milestones? What does it look like? And what do we need to achieve? And then celebrate it when you do. Don't think you have to
Right,
wait till the very end to celebrate. You need to have fun in between to keep you going, keep the creative spirits. I'm not going to come in and, oh, we're going to just plow all the way through. When you're working with creative individuals
right.
and authors, you don't want to kill that spirit because that's why they started in the first place. No one wakes up and says, I have so much time and so much money. I'm going to write 80 books. Like it
Yeah,
happens. It usually happens organically because of a need or a gap that you found. And that's how I wrote the book. I had never intended to write a book. I never intended to start a business, but it just happened because of conversations like this with individuals that said, I really could use your guidance. I'd never thought of it like that. You should write a book. And I thought, oh, well, maybe I'll write a book. And I said, well, then I'll have to have business to promote the book. And then it all came full circle. But I didn't really have a forced timeline. It's really going to happen as it unfolds, but I want it to feel natural and fun and genuine. I don't want it to feel too prescriptive, even though I'm very disciplined in my approach. I like to allow that room because I don't know what's going to happen next year, in 10 years. The book could go crazy, the book could go flat, but I'm just going to keep promoting, keep having these lovely conversations, expand my network, meet new friends, and be available, be present, and answer questions. Because if I have this information to share, I want to share it, but I'm not going to force it upon others. You can't. People are going to learn at their own time and their own pace. And some people read a chapter, it doesn't resonate, then they'll have that experience that I talk about, then they'll come back and go, that's what you meant. I see it now. I get it. Oh, I wish I would have known that 5 years ago. And I said, yes, that's why I wrote the books. I wish I would have known this 20 years ago. So it's just really a, a a genuine honor to get to meet folks and have them have that moment where they've learned something or resonated and they think, yes, okay, now I know what you were talking about. And I'm so glad you shared that because I had a call last week where I used what I read or I learned, utilized what I heard on a call or a podcast. It really did the tricks. I'm glad
Yeah.
it's hitting the points today and resonating with you because this is your time too. And you're taking time to speak with me and promote my projects and my business. So it's very kind of you. So thank you.
Well, thank you for taking
Yeah.
time to be with us. I think what I want to circle back to something you are saying, because I think as authors too, sometimes we even might say, oh, I have a little money to do this. But when you're running your business, you always have to take it a little further to say, what will my return be? Because you kind of mentioned people being a little desperate and trying to force their books on something because they need the money and they need to make it back. And that actually will repel customers.
Yes.
And so something to think about, and that's why we started this podcast. It's like there's things we now know because we've been in it, but I wish I would have known these things starting out, like from day one. It's not enough to just go to the author event and pay for your booth. You have to figure out like how many books do I have to sell to make back my money that I spent on the booth, the swag, the time, the taking time out of maybe work to be here. And I think sometimes I've talked to authors and they've signed up for conferences even. And they're like, yeah, we didn't even get close because it was like $1,100 for a table at a conference one author had to do. So thinking about if I produce this extra part of my author business, yes, maybe I have the money right now, but am I going to make that money back? I was not good at that, thinking at that level.
The thing too, we don't know what we don't know until we know it,
Yeah,
right? So you can't beat yourself up. Oh my goodness, that would have been fantastic. But now I know I'm going to apply it, learn fast, fail fast, learn faster, and go forward. But today
yeah,
we're in a really great position because there's print on demand. I mean, earlier authors had to print what, 500,
yeah,
400, 5,000 copies and have books stacked in their garage year over year. So there are different ways that you can utilize the different tools and systems in place now where you can print on demand, have a smaller amount. Also, too, something that I learned, again, I didn't know what I didn't know until I knew it, is having larger bookstores hold your book available at conferences. So you don't have to physically be there, but you're still getting that exposure. And yeah, there's a commission cut, but it's going to be a lot less than you spending, to your point, $1,100 in flies and hotels and food. So look for partners, look for a way to collaborate. Can you share a booth? Can you share a table? Can someone else have your book for you? And something that I learned last year, which is where I actually met my publicist, Mickey Mickelson of Creative Edge, was
it's
at
so great.
Fest he's great, yeah, at
It's
the
so great.
Festival of Books, where I sat at a table for 2 days. I had some sales, some interest, which turns out was fantastic. Some people didn't have either. And I thought, if I would have just had my book at the Henry Books store booth, I could have facilitated and moderated more panels than just one. And that would have been a larger value for my time because I'm learning as well. You know, the coach wants to be coached too. I need to learn. I need to grow in my business. And I could have expanded my network with who knows who I could have met otherwise. So I thought, okay, I have to look for different avenues, different ways to have my product out there where I can still be out there as well and not at a booth, at a table. And a lot of folks are so overwhelmed. You have say 100 booths. I mean, you're the competition there
Right.
alone. And how do you stand
Right.
out? I had a photo booth and I had swag and we were standing and we were talking and we were engaged and having fun. And my client had just been featured on the cover of a local magazine that month. So I got a stack of her magazines, the Black Hills Lifestyle magazine. We had it on the booth. I had her come for a day. She was signing autographs as well. Like I was trying to make it feel like an event. And still the amount of people that just pass by, I mean, you're competing for everything, especially on a beautiful Saturday. So
Right.
it's really interesting to see. So long story short, look for ways to partner, look for ways to expand your footprint at these different events where you don't have to physically be in one spot or a traditional method of publishing or print. Really explore different avenues and have conversations like this where you can say, what do you wish you would have known 5 years ago? Or what course do you wish you would have taken sooner? Or what have you learned in the last year that has just completely been a catalyst for some revenue stream that you hadn't even thought of before. And it will be really impressive when you ask questions that are not yes or no. Like ask a it's going to have a long answer
Mhm.
and listen. That's the trick. Don't just ask, listen.
Yeah.
Yes.
Are there core systems that you think every creative should have or establish from a business perspective?
Yes, to really one, and we've touched on it a little bit with the previous question, is the mindset, which is your approach. You have to be reflective and you have to be disciplined, but you have to set those expectations for yourself and those you're working with. So really have that mindset. And then on the more, I guess would say tactical side of the houses, have that roadmap, that process. So that core system will be in place that you can follow upon when, oh, I'm stuck, I'm in a rut, I don't know where to go forward. You can refer back to your roadmap. What is my intention? Where am I at in this process? Let me refresh and regroup and then get back into the actions that are needed to fulfill that milestone or that particular phase. So coming from, I'm a Libra, true to form. I'm well balanced. I like to think I am. I have the practical and the mystical, if you want to call it. So
Mm.
have that mindset, but be very diligent in the way you approach it. And then have your practical, your roadmap, something that you can follow and keep you accountable so you can still have that financial acumen that allows you to be creative. So I have kind of my 4 phase process, if you will, where I like to research, write, refine, and then rest. And you, to your chores, Angela, rest needs to be, in my opinion, one of the chores elements because you're never done.
Yeah.
It's never going to be complete, but you really have to rest and take time for yourself to regroup. Otherwise, you might be doing the actions, but are they going to be quality? You have to be really thoughtful about your brand. Does it resonate with my brand, the quality of my brand? Am I overextended? Because then that's going to resonate not the way that you prefer. So, those are my 2 kind of core systems that I like to keep in place.
Yeah, rest is so important, and it sounds like so easy, but my husband actually had to get me a sign. It was in my stocking for Christmas, and it says, "I will do nothing today." And I was like my eyes started twitching, and I was like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "I can't do nothing all day." What is I don't even know what this says. Like, it was like, you need days where you just have permission to there's times when I play these little silly desktop mobile games on my iPad. And I think that's the permission I've given myself to just not think. I'm harvesting crops and, doing my little thing or whatever because I can just empty my brain. It's not I don't have to be responsible for my list in that moment, but also saying I am just gonna go lay in bed at night instead of like at night, I'm the night out worker. And so I'm always like doing different things at night. And there's times when I have to say, why don't you just lay in bed, watch TV, play your game, rest? And so I've gotten better at that, but that was something I couldn't do. I just felt like if I'm not being productive, I'm not alive, And then even when I transitioned from working on my feet, sometimes working 16 hours a day as a gallery director and as a buyer, and I just like I would go in on my days off. And when I started to transition to nurture my more creative career, that was so bizarre to like, not feel like I was earning, even though I was embarking on a career that was a long game where I might probably will earn eventually. It could take 20 years, but it'll come. It's just the longer game. But because it was that creative piece, I was like, is there still value? I had to shift into that mindset. And once I did, then I started to be more successful. But mindset is everything sometimes. And it sounds so simple, but it's not, right?
Ye No, I had heard a podcast with Simon Sinek, and he had talked about athletes, Olympic athletes. Yeah, you've heard this, where the interviewers, newscasters would say, "Are you nervous? Are you nervous today, your big day?" And they say, "No, I'm excited." And it's that mindset where you're utilizing that energy to be excited because of the different quality of your performance. So, things that I've done too, because you're right, it can author business is a full-time job and a part-time job and a side hustle. It's all of the above.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
all in. You're in the deep end. But where I have tried to put business and pleasure together is look for events locally where I can take my client with me, and we're going to an art gallery, or we're going to a concert, we're going to a charity dinner, or some event where we can put the two together, and I'm giving them permission to take that break, which they wouldn't have taken
Mhm.
because now they're with their coach, or they're with their client, or they're with their consultant. And so now we're doing both at once, and they don't feel like they're working, but we have such extraordinary conversations because they're in a creative space, they're in a creative mindset, and maybe they're letting their own mental guard down with having to produce, produce, produce. And then they're getting these ideas of like, I didn't think about it like that because I'm looking at this beautiful scenery and I'm having this beautiful meal and we're having this cool conversation, or heard that piece of music and there was a line in there, and oh, now I have the tagline for my product, or whatever the case might be. So
Right.
Right.
I'm creating environments and situations and moments where they can take a break and they're still working, but
Right.
they're in a creative area where they can enjoy a little bit, and they're getting a break and they're like, I forgot what time it was, or where are we going next? And so I maybe that's something that you could try to incorporate a little bit, or others as well that are listening. Look for areas where you can even volunteer. Like I volunteer at a local motorcycle museum, the Hall of Fame. They have a annual inductee breakfast every year during rally. I'm here in the Black Hills in South Dakota, so the Sturgis Rally, some folks are very familiar, other
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
they do an annual breakfast, and so my business partner and I volunteer at that event, and we just show people to their seats. We answer questions, we facilitate the executive director, and it is a way to present and promote our business, but also get to be a part of the rally, which we would otherwise miss if we were at our desk all day. So we really are always
Right.
looking for ways to integrate in the community and grow the business, but do so in a way where we're enjoying ourselves as well. It can't just be all heads down all the time. It'll just wear you out.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I think too, author businesses, you talked about it, a hustle. It does always feel a bit like a hustle. And it's really difficult. We've talked about this quite a bit, Angela and I, not to compare yourself to others, right? And really hold yourself and your own plan together. And I'm curious, what are your thoughts about that? Because we all have it. We have comparativitis, in all different industries, right? Yeah.
I've not heard it that way. That's very clever. I like that. And that is a very healthy outlook, I think, and personal as well, because there wasn't there the movie The Joneses? You're always comparing yourself financially, physically, career-wise, and you just can't. It's not I think it's a nice way to look at someone who has achieved what you would like to achieve, and look at their roadmap and their background and, "Oh, how did they get that? Let me chat with them. Let me see what elements I might be missing that I could work on." But you're gonna have you're your own unique self, and your situation is gonna differ as well. Some people had children earlier in life, some people never had them, some people had a financial setback because of health. So you really don't know what part of their journey or what season they're in. But if you spend your life comparing, you'll never be happy. There's so many needlepoint
Right.
pillows that have some sort of message, but you really truly have to appreciate what you have at the moment and enjoy it, not always be thinking, "Oh, what am I gonna do tomorrow? What am I gonna do next week? What am I" right? There's this panic, like,
Right.
just enjoy a sunset. Sit there and look at it. Sit there and watch the
Yeah.
sunrise, right? Go to the beach, take your phone, take your photo, but maybe put it on airplane mode so then you don't get stuck in the scroll and the text and all of the
Right.
things. I do that quite a lot, and we just put it on airplane mode so I can still have a camera, but I'm not being inundated with text and calls and things of that nature. When you can be off, right? Be off. So, yeah, it's a really interesting dynamic, and it's nothing you're going to I'm not looking to change. You're never going to change an individual, but maybe the mindset or give them that permission to say, you are you, you are great, you are who you are. So let's work on that component. And if you are comparing, do it in such a way where it's a healthy comparison. Like, I love the way
Yes.
you styled that outfit, or I love your cover art, or whatever the case might be. How did you arrive at that combination, or what course did you take, or what did you learn or hear, or what inspired you? And then you can kind of build that communication in that direction where you're improving upon yourself or your strength or your skill set, but you're not comparing. Maybe that's a nice way. I'm enhancing, I'm not comparing. And if you do it from that perspective,
Ooh,
that could be a nice way
yeah.
to bridge the gap and trend in a more positive mindset.
I love that, enhancing, not comparing, because it's really difficult. I think most indie authors are cheerleaders for one another. I mean,
Hmm.
it's a fabulous community because I wanna see you succeed. I wanna see all of those things. I would like to be up there with you. If I get there, yay. But if
Right.
not, I'm still pushing for that. So I I do think sometimes though it gets you down a little bit, and I think that's where burnout happens is that comparativitis. We push and push and push because we see X author who does 3 to 4 books a year, and then Angela and I are like looking at that going, "Well, why can't we do that?" Well, we also work full time. Maybe they're
Yeah.
not full time. They're full-time author, we're part-time, author, and it's difficult, and I do think that's where we get that whole hustle culture that we're compared. So then we're trying to keep up with the Joneses and we burn ourselves out. I see it time and time again with so many of our friends, and it's difficult. And I think it's difficult sometimes to hold your ground of who you are and what you want to accomplish too.
And also too,
So
you don't know, did they write those 4 books 4 years ago? And it's just now coming
true.
to an end cycle where they just needed that final chapter and they didn't know how to end the story yet. So again, without knowing
Right.
full context, you're maybe inaccurately comparing when you don't know their journey. Maybe they had some incredible friend that diagnosed and they said, "Oh, I got to make the best year of my life and I'm just going to write or I'm going to watch a movie every weekend to relax, but the movie's going to be on the topic of my next book." So I'm still resting, but I'm still doing research. So who knows how they're allocating their time and what their story has been. And a lot of folks go, "Nicole, how did you go to school and hold a full-time job and start a business? Like, how do you have all of this time?" And I can see them comparing themselves. And I said, "I'm going to tell you right now, I do not have children. I do not have pets. How much time do you spend on those two items in your
Yeah.
life?"
Yeah.
And I said, "It's not because I don't like either. It wasn't in the cards. And now without children, I don't want to have pets because then I'm stuck back at home and I want to go out and I want to
Yeah.
do things." And I think we're the only people we know that do not have one or the other or both. And so it's a really unique, we're like, "Oh, you want to just go for another hour ride or you want to go for a dinner? Yeah, let's go." And everyone gets so jealous. But I'm like, "Yeah, but you have this amazing little person that you're learning from and growing with and
Sure.
giving you a chance to be creative for that moment." They win, the kid wins. But we have so many nieces and
Mhm.
nephews and great nieces and nephews, so we've had that fun journey with them, but it hasn't been a part of my schedule, so I have allocated my time differently. And so really without
Right.
understanding every component or facet of that individual's life, you are comparing without all of the data, and then you're just gonna be exhausted to your point and then do the comparison, and it's not really fair to you, so I'd say just scratch it. From here on out, we will not
Scratch
compare.
it.
Yeah.
I love it. I love
Yeah.
that.
No, that's great. And I think it's just a good, these all feel like simple reminders.
Yes.
It's just putting it into practice.
Simple is
But
not easy.
no,
No.
it's not.
Yep, you're right.
One question I have is you've worked with, I can't imagine the clients you've had and just working in the CEO space, other entrepreneurs. Are there like certain traits that entrepreneurs, CEOs just inherently have? It goes back to like, can you learn something or do you just have it? You
It's
know?
intuitive. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it?
I would say both. And being willing to say yes has opened more doors for me than I can even imagine. I've been learning to be comfortable with being uncomfortable and being the brave person to say, "Yes, I'll try." and being
Sure.
clunky about it. Say, I will not tell you I don't know. I will find out. Let me give it a absolutely. So having the energetic, I guess, or the positive mindset of not saying no, but yes, with the following limitations we need to consider. So then you're opening the conversation because if someone comes to you and says no, you're already tuning out. Instead, I'll say, yes, and let's consider A, B, and C so we can have a better end result for you. So I think it's the way you present yourself, the way you present your energy, and then how you build those relationships. And these are all like you've said, it's nothing new. It's nothing you haven't heard, but really understanding how to do that. So I think intuitively it has to be that personality, that trait, that chemistry within yourself to understand how can I get the best out of everybody else? And I'm going to do so through the way I'm modeling my personality and my traits and myself. Working with different individuals and different companies and small, medium, and large, I would say that the biggest challenge is giving people permission to be confident and make a decision and go forward. A lot of folks struggle with just making a decision and conversations just continue and continue. Make a decision with what we know today and then go forward and you course correct. And really understanding you can change direction once you learn more information, but you have to get started. And so with the C-suite, it's really a matter of being confident to just lead and having that ability to understand when we need to change course. And that's probably the biggest element with the folks that I see who are really successful is they're willing to just go forward and try. Otherwise, you're just so stagnant and it just the team will then see that as a culture, and then they won't take action because, "Oh, we can wait," and you're not gonna get anywhere, so if that answers the question to
Yeah.
yeah, but there's I could talk about that for a whole episode, but really just being confident in your skills and your traits, and if you see a gap, don't try to be the master. There isn't enough time.
Right.
Find someone who is, call upon an SME, a subject matter expert, and just bring them to the table, even if it's only consultant advisor, just for an hour or two or a week or a month, whatever your budget and timeline can facilitate. And let them do that heavy lifting that they can do so much quicker than you. And you'll learn a little bit from it, but you cannot learn everything to be a master. And if you try to juggle too many hats to that extent, you're going to fall short on every single one of them. Instead, find someone
Right.
who's amazing, tap into them, and then thank them kindly and treat them as gold. And we'll speak together again in a month or a year, whenever we need to have you come back. So really build your team, build your network, and then give them a direction so they can go forward.
Yeah.
I love it.
I think that's important for authors to hear that, to really hear that, because I've talked to authors who, can't even get out the door with their first book because we also suffer from perfectionitis where it's got to be perfect. And there's a little stage fright publishing your first
Sure.
book. You're putting your intimate parts out there and people judge it and, or don't read it. And how does that feel? Or, but there's a lot of people that will probably love it. And you've got to just start. I was in analysis paralysis forever. I was taking every class and like signing up for things because I was like, I need to know this and I need to know this. And it's like you just need to start, make the decision, and then you can recalibrate. If you write in a genre, that's the beauty about being an indie author. If you put out a genre out there and it's not selling, you can try a different one and
Right.
learn that and put that out there and really test the waters. If I'm going to probably redo my very first and second book because I've learned so much, is that the advice you always get to go back and redo those? No, I want to do that because it's a challenge and I can. It's possible. And so I think that's what we as indie authors need to lean into. There's so many possibilities. You have so much more control over your business that just go forth, just try, like you were saying, make the decision, and then you'll get some data and then you can course correct. So taking that business concept and applying it to an indie author space, I think is gold. I think that's perfect.
Good. Yeah. And it's true. You really just have to go forward, make that decision. That has been the theme I've seen throughout is those that are willing to go forward and just start and try and give it a shot are more successful because There's no other way to achieve success without going
Right.
forward. So by
Right.
process of elimination, you can only be successful if you execute and go forward. So if you go forward, you will be successful in some way. If you learn and you fail fast and you learn some amazing, extraordinary skill or meet an individual, you have a level of success in just doing that. So there's those small moments of achievement that can be considered success as well. And then it's going to accumulate and get you to where you need to be or would like to be. Just remember to enjoy when you reach that spot because
Right.
it's what you wanted
Yeah.
10 years ago. It might not be what you want today, but 10 years ago, this was it. That you've made it. So
Right.
when you have made it, take a moment, reflect and celebrate, and then you make your next goal. And that's just human. That's just the way we're growing. That's very innate in us to want to achieve and to perform. And so once you achieve your 10 years forward, ooh, I would have been happy with that 10 years ago. Okay, then be happy today and then celebrate.
Yeah.
Make your next decision to go forward and what that success level will look like.
Oh, are you gonna write more books?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about what you learned from writing your first book, and there's more on the way. So what can we yeah, what can we
What I've learned, I wish I would have known that you can approach literary agents with just a fully fleshed proposal. I thought you had to have the full manuscript. And had I known that, I could have started reaching out to agents while I finished the book. So that was a really good lesson learned to fast track together, parallel rather. I could do those activities in tandem. And then also just the promotional aspect, like what's going to be involved with that end to end process, not just writing the book, but how do I get it to market? And then how do I remind people and how do I promote it? And what are all of the elements that go with the book? And what is the demographic and what area could it be more exciting and accessible? And does it need to be a print? Can it just be a digital copy? So there's so many ways to go about it. Am I going to be writing for us? Will it go into a TV or movie or screenplay? Or how could I maybe adapt those elements early on if that's the direction I want to go? So this one was really came about because the corporate coach approach came about because I was in that space where I was mentoring and coaching those I was working with and clients that I was supporting. And so I wrote this nonfiction work that's more academic and more technical and really like a consolidated guide the moment you need it. You can just hop in and hop out. You can read any chapter in any order. And so maybe the next projects will be more fiction and a little bit more whimsical and then get a chance to explore a more creative side. But it's just going to
Yay.
what do people want? You are only going to sell what people are interested in buying. So what are people interested in and kind of look for those trends and stay true to the brand and true to the form that I've cultivated and established. Maybe it can be in a different angle and give it a shot. And if that doesn't work, then try something different. So lots of different
Right.
projects, but this summer I'm going to be promoting the book, going through library sessions and meeting individuals around the country. I'm working on that schedule right now. So I'm really excited to still promote this particular book and make sure it's run its full course and just kind of then put it to the side and see where it goes. Never a sunset. It's always going to have a little bit of a longevity. I feel like 10 years down the road, it would still be relevant.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, good best practices and solid foundational information I feel is never going to go out of style, if you want to call it that, or become redundant. Some of the techniques, and of course AI is going to grow. It's very sophisticated every day. It keeps improving and generating. So some of the techniques might be a bit dated, but just that foundational core of how to approach a relationship and how to think through a different process when going forward with a project. Those items are always going to be helpful to hear. So really excited to see the longevity of the book and where it will take me, but also letting others kind of help me with that. Like, oh, I'd love to see it like this, or have you thought about doing that? I'm like, I haven't, but I will now. So it's been a fun conversation every time I have engagements of this nature to see what people would like to see. So great question.
Great.
That's great.
That's great. I'm loving this discussion, and I feel like I could continue like another hour. But
Yeah.
with that,
Yeah,
I'm
that's so
kind of
kind of you. Yes, and I feel the same. So we're gonna have to meet again, ladies.
I know
Absolutely.
we should.
Yeah.
We should for sure. I was just going to ask, just kind of as a final question, like if there were takeaway messages that you would want to leave with authors or creatives, what are those 3 points that you would leave them with today?
I'm gonna say we're not gonna compare, we're gonna enhance, right?
Yes.
We're gonna support, but also understand that there's been a different journey and a different set that they have a different path that they've been on. So really understand you're gonna learn from others, but comparing is really going to put you in a different mindset. That's going to be more of a challenge. So that's more of the creative, reflective mindset to just give yourself grace and time to realize that everybody's going to have a different approach, but we can all learn from one another as we cheer each other on. But every situation is completely different. I would say, from a practical and logical perspective, logistics perspective, is to have a roadmap, have some process where when you get stuck, you're getting into a rut, you can go back to your roadmap and treat it as a guide and say, where am I right now? Where did I make a wrong turn? Or where did I get off track? And then it can reset the course, and then you can make action. You can go forward with action and not be stuck spending time trying to familiarize yourself
Right.
with what your end goal is, what your true objective is. And then I would also say, look around and see who your experts are in your area, your community. Who can you partner with? Who can you learn from? Who can you support where you might have additional growth without even having no expectations, but just understanding, say yes, be open to the idea and go forward and see what you can learn. So keeping in mind that there's so many different ways to, but having good conversations with individuals and trying to be interesting in return. You're taking time with them and they're taking time to be with you. So how can you provide value by asking them really great questions where they are going to have that moment of reflection as well in return? So
Yeah.
really be a very good listener, and everyone's excited to talk and share, but what can you do for somebody else by just listening and reflecting back and allowing them to contemplate as well? So being a really good listener is important. You learn a lot from doing so. So those, I guess, are
Yeah.
the three kind of areas to encompass that I think are going to really be beneficial regardless of your genre or length of
Right.
project. I think that could really be helpful.
I
Do
love
you
that.
have time to quickly tell us about Sheconomy, though? What's
Yes.
Sheconomy?
It's from She Rises Studio. That's where it was born, and the founders are a mother and a daughter. And I just joined their founding members circle maybe a few weeks ago, and there were 100. And so these are going to be lifetime memberships, and it's really advocating for women entrepreneurs to understand the financial part of the business and really having a seat at the table. Their moment is the voice, being present, getting into the room. But once you're in the room, how to utilize your voice to keep your seat at the table. Because there are so many opportunities we're missing as female entrepreneurs because we're not in the room. So their
Yeah.
premise is access, proximity, getting into the room so you can be heard and seen, and then having that financial stability where you can grow your business because you have the financial means to do so. You have to be creative to have the product, but if you don't have the funds to see a project through, the
Yeah.
creativity is really, that's great, but it's not the whole story. You have to have both sides. So because I'm a coach and I'm the mentor, I'm always looking for networks and communities where I can grow and learn. And that came across in my emails through writing articles for some of their digital magazines. And then I had seen this Sheconomy component that they were starting this year. And I thought, okay, well, I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to join. I'm going to make the financial investment, which is not a lot in the grand scheme. You're investing in yourself and you're joining this community, and they have quarterly meetings, weekly networks, coffee connections.
Hmm.
You can put as much time into it as you can, but it's really just a nice way to be with a group of individuals that understand our perspectives and have that like mindset and that like understanding that I want to grow the business and I want to learn from others. It's been a fairly new initiative, but look it up definitely. She Economy, and it's kind of a fun name.
I will.
Yep,
Yeah,
and
it's
they have
great.
they have
It's
a
a great name.
founder's vault and then also, tools and templates and resources that can help you along the way in your business. So I'm excited to learn more about it and to figure out how to continue to contribute to the community as well as learn from the others that are going to be a part of that founding circle.
That's great.
Amazing.
It is.
Amazing.
All right. Well, let's round out our interview today with our hot seat topic
Oh,
and know you a little bit different level, a little more personal level.
okay, let's do it.
Okay, this is a great one. What is your idea of a perfect day? Like you just say, this was the
A
perfect day.
perfect day.
Oh, the perfect day. I will wake up at my leisure with no alarm to the sounds of an ocean with a view of a Hawaiian beach. Okay. That's just how we're starting, ladies. Like, that's just the start.
Wow. I
That's
want to be there.
Ditto.
Expectations are very lofty. And then my helicopter will collect me and we will cruise around the island and look at all the beautiful views. And it will take me down to this extraordinary meal of which I don't have to cook, clean, prepare, or even say what I want. The chef will just know what I
No.
want to eat that day. And then I will have a beautiful long walk, a really strenuous exercise that will be followed by an amazing massage and another dinner. Again, the chef doesn't have to ask me. They just know what I want to eat. And then I will watch the sunset and just really reflect on this beautiful view and food and just this fulfillment of having all of my luxurious needs met for one day. I think that would be fantastic.
Absolutely.
I would love to bring all of my close family and friends that have been supportive the whole way through, not just on the good times, but the bad times, and
Yes.
have them enjoy that moment, enjoy that day. If we need 8 helicopters, get 8 helicopters, but being able to really my view of success is having the financial means to do a day like that for those that have supported me throughout the entire journey,
Yeah.
because you need those people to keep cheering you on. So if you can, I don't know how I would top that day. So it would have to be like the pinnacle, but I think that would just be such a nice way to celebrate my achievements and those that have helped me along the way.
I just don't even think I can
I
answer
can't top
after
that.
that. I
I
just want to
can't.
go ditto. Like, I want that day.
Actually, I know the chef. Check out Chef Riley Meehan on social media. I am obsessed with his videos because he'll do like what I cooked for my clients in the Hamptons today. And I was like,
Uh,
let's just gather all of you, all our friends. I think that would be exactly it. But I would go like Hampton summer nights out in the yard with the twinkling lights, and you just have the chef and the things that he creates. I'm like, "My gosh." I mean, he can bake, he can make drinks. He was like sous vide chicken. So check him out because that's the chef I'm bringing
okay.
because I
Okay.
just want to come to your day.
Yeah. So I think coming to your day, but also after that day, I would love to come to an absolutely clean house with no chores. Like, that's what I want. I want the day after too. I want it
Ooh,
so my perfect day, all my things are being done in my house so that when I come back, I can
Yeah.
still just kind of be. Like, that would be the ultimate, I
we
think.
could
Yeah,
rule the world, the
totally.
3 of us.
Yeah,
We could.
absolutely.
Create a
Yeah.
business where you just make the perfect day with every detail. And I know there are already folks in this space, but how do you get in on that gig? Like, wow,
Yeah.
that is incredible. But just making the perfect day for people. I want to be the people that the day is made for. That would just
Yeah,
be just one day,
absolutely.
but then could you go back to real life? I don't know.
Mhm. No.
As long as in parallel, all the other things are being taken
Yes,
care of
yes.
so that I can continue. Thank you so much for joining
Thank you
us
so
today,
much.
Nicole.
Thank
Really.
you. It's been really a genuine pleasure. Thank you so much for giving me this much time out of your day. And I've really learned a lot as well. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you. All right. So, as we wrap this up to our listeners, don't forget to give us a review and rating wherever you listen to the podcast. It really helps us with visibility. And if you're interested in joining us in our romance corner, the author next door after dark, make sure and sign up for our newsletter. This month, we're talking about the use of dialogue as seduction, how banter builds intimacy. So, with that, we're going to say goodbye. Keep writing, keep doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
We're so glad you joined us for this episode of The Author Next Door.
Writing is a long game, and it's one best played with community, curiosity, and a little grace for yourself along the way.
Keep showing up, keep learning, and keep telling stories only you can tell.
We'll see you next week, right here next door.